Ken doing?
He can't hear you.
Oh, he's okay. Thumbs up. 5 o'clock.
He's plugged into iTunes, man.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Director Coverdale.
Here.
Vice President Glassberg.
Here.
Director Reynolds is absent. Director Flint is absent. President Michelson.
Present. So welcome to a special meeting of the Board of Directors, Monday, July 27th. All rise. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Great. Thank you. Going to public comment. I don't see any blue sheets up here.
Is there speaker slips somewhere?
Yeah, there are. Right now would be great.
Before, preferably.
Tonight's agenda.
Yeah.
So right now?
Yes.
He's commenting on agenda items, so either way.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take the comment now.
All right, well, thank you very much, Honorable Board, for letting me address the one agenda item that you guys have up tonight. It's the recycled water, of course. I'm very excited to see that the Coastside County Water District Board is moving in this direction. I had a chance to peek at the staff report that your general manager put together, and I want to say that I think there is a lot that Dave and I have in common how to think about this project. I believe right now is a phase where everybody should pull out the principles of agreement that were approved earlier this year, and that is what I see you guys doing, and then focus really on each portion that each party has to deal with. There's OCP that needs to focus on figuring out what to do with the water, how much can they pay. You have to focus on getting the pipeline installed and the portion that is still missing and permitted. And Sam has the function of essentially building the water treatment plant. So I think there was a lot of I think we had an interesting meeting at the last SAM board meeting. There was a very aggressive timeline presented. I think this is all achievable if you look at it from SAM's perspective. I think it's very, it's a fairly aggressive time schedule that might not be true for the entire project. Thinking about specifically the portion that Coastside County Water District has to deal with, the permitting of the pipe is, I think, the biggest portion to deal with. So I'm glad to see that you guys are bringing this up, that you guys are taking action, that you move forward. We have a similar item scheduled at tonight's SAM board agenda, and I'm trying to do essentially the same thing, where I'm trying to focus the SAM board on getting the portion that is constructed on SAM property to focus on that portion and try to figure out how can we get this done, how can we deal with the problems that we've seen in the past that are associated with that, for example, salt, et cetera, et cetera. So thanks again for letting me speak, and yeah, excited to see what you guys are deciding tonight.
If you would turn that into Joanne, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, let me fill it out first.
Is that okay?
Chris, there's anything.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing up the principles of agreement. We've been waiting 6 years for that principles of agreement to get signed, and so we thank the SAM board for finally stepping up and signing that and getting it over to us. So we look forward to working together on producing recycled water 6 years later. Thank you. Bob Feldman, former Director Feldman.
Thanks. Good to see you guys. In 2010, I think we signed a memorandum of understanding at the board here, of which I was a part of, and that was exciting. I thought that was a great deal. But I said, as we pursued the process, that I wouldn't hold my breath, about seeing it get done. As you can see here tonight, I didn't hold my breath. I think it's really neat that we're getting to move forward on this process. I'm a great fan of recycled water, and was hoping for many years that we would get going on this thing. Clement's comments give me some hope that there are some forces at work that will maybe get Sam to start to be serious. The stars may be in alignment. That is, we have a pipe that Ocean Colony has that goes right down near to the plant. We have a sewage treatment plant, which is cool because that's what you need to get recycled water, and it's right in our town. We have potentially, or there are potentially government funds available, federal funds for this process, which may help to pay for this. And we really have a lot of things working at this point to make this happen if everybody gets together and collaborates on making this happen. We have a customer who has shown interest, being the people over at the Ocean Colony Golf Course who want to do this. So if the stars are in alignment and the folks involved are willing to collaborate, and the perception is that we need to do this, or this community needs to do this because things are not really good out there these days, maybe this is the right time for everybody to get together and work on this and make it happen. And I think the board is showing really positive approach to trying to make this move forward, and I hope that other people involved also are willing to do this, because it's really something the community needs, and it's really something that we have to consider as a very important project going forward. So I just had to come and say this, and I'm not going to hold my breath again, because who knows, because I may want to come back in 5 more years and say the same thing. But I wish you all well. It's good luck. I hope that Sam Board is willing to consider this. And I don't see there's any option these days. I just really don't see any options anymore but to do something, because we have all the right stuff. We have all the right stuff here to make it happen. That's what's so, well, that's what's so frustrating, because we started this many, many, many years ago, and we had the right stuff, and we still have the right stuff. And I hope you guys stay with it, because it gets frustrating, I know, but whoever of you are pushing forward on this, keep pushing, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, for pointing out the long-time willingness to recycle here at CCWD, and I share your frustration. It's been a long road, so hopefully we have a cooperative partner. Thank you. Turning it over to our general manager.
Okay, I'd like to thank the board for coming together tonight on short notice. This was, in theory, the last time we can all be together before October. We have a vacation scheduled that will take a couple of our board members away, and I'll be gone in September. So I really wanted to take the opportunity now to make some progress on what I think is a real opportunity this time to move forward with recycled water. And I said in my staff report that I would give some background, and I don't want to go back and look at too much background. I'd like to look ahead, and I think we have really, as former Director Feldman said, all of the elements in place to do a recycled water project. We have a customer who is more than willing, almost beating on our door, saying, can I have recycled water? I think that's the way to achieve long-term water security for a water-dependent business. We've got the Sewer Authority Mid-Coastside saying, admittedly, an aggressive schedule, they could have recycled water available by March 2016. I won't hold my breath for that, but I think it indicates a real aggressive approach to getting this project going. And we have Coastside County Water District, that we've all been interested in recycled water for a long time. I think we made tremendous progress in getting a set of principles approved for an agreement on a recycled water project, and that was the result of a lot of hard work in the fall, from October or so till January, by the Recycled Water Committee, including our director Coverdell. And I have to credit former Councilman Alan Alifano for really pushing this forward, for getting all the parties together, for keeping after everyone to make sure that this happened. And this is such an important step. And I keep going back to these principles and looking at them and saying, wow, this is really something we can work with, and provides a basis for us getting together on this project that we really didn't have before. And I'd like to just review for you some of the what I think are the key principles that we will keep coming back to, and that are the basis for our being able to move forward. The principles were approved by SAM, the SAM member agencies, and CCWD in January 2015. And so everybody has signed it, even Granada Community Services District, which isn't a water district, but is a member agency of SAM. So I think this indicates that we should be able to work with all of the SAM member agencies. And in contrast to the principles that this board looked at in 2010, this document describes what we call a Phase 1 project. It isn't the world of recycled water, it's recycled water for the Ocean Colony golf courses. I think that's important, because it really says, well, we're not going to try to come up with an agreement that addresses all of the future of recycled water. We're just going to try to get recycled water to the golf course. I think that was an important modification of the earlier principles. And for the first, this Phase 1 involves a recycled water treatment facility at SAM, and then a transmission and distribution system for CCWD's service area, somehow to get the water to the golf course. Key provisions. For the first time, really, we have definite agreement that SAM will be the producer of recycled water and CCWD will be the distributor of recycled water. We spent quite a bit of time going back and forth about that. Now it's unambiguous now. We each have our own side of the fence and our own role to play in the recycled water project. And those, at the moment, don't overlap. And both parties are responsible for their respective side of the business, construction operation of their respective facilities. For SAM, that would be the production, the treatment facilities, and for CCWD, it'd be getting the water from the SAM fence, essentially, to our customer. And as simple as that seems, just having us all agree on that has been real progress, and gives us a basis for going forward. Recycled water facilities funding, of course, the devil will be in the details of the agreement between these agencies, but the principles lay it out in concept. SAM and CCWD will each fund their portion of Phase 1. CCWD will reimburse costs. That would be through, if SAM and CCWD each fund their portions, then SAM's costs would be reimbursed through recycled water rates that we pay for a committed quantity of recycled water. Grants and low-cost loans may be available, and we commit in the principles to pursue those. I think that's, Kennedy Jenks will expand on this, but I think this is a very important consideration and a reason for us to move as quickly as we can. We have a really good window of opportunity now with the drought. The drought is really pushing people to think about water supply and the reliability of water supply and recycled water. And we would need to move relatively quickly. We're not shovel ready yet, but of course, there's at the moment, we understand a lot of money basically sitting out there waiting for projects or
available to fund projects, and this could be a very significant factor in making this project feasible. And one of the other provisions in the funding is that we need to come up with an agreement between SAM and CCWD before design and construction commences, and presumably that means before the money meter for CCWD on this project starts running. So that's an important consideration for us. So what are the next steps? We want to move quickly.
Sorry to be late, guys.
We need to come up with a Phase 1 recycled water agreement between SAM and the Coastside County Water District. Starting from the guiding principles, we have a meeting of all the committee members and stakeholders set for 7 p.m. at SAM on August 4th. Hopefully we'll be able to sit down with the principals, and it would probably move more quickly if rather than having 5 or 6 directors, we have some assignments for the staff in terms of coming up with an agreement, but that's going to be a critical next step. And then on our side of the fence, we need to work on a water supply agreement between CCWD and Ocean Colony partners. And really kind of at the top of that to-do list is coming up with the quantity and quality of recycled water that will need to adequately serve the needs of our customer. We've done a little bit of a pilot program. We haven't really gotten into the technical details of exactly what that will need to be. And I think that's going to be important in coming up with an agreement with Ocean Colony partners, and that's part of the scope we've described for Kennedy Jenks. And then we need to either validate some of the existing cost estimates or come up with our own to make sure that our cost floor is somewhere below Ocean Colony's cost ceiling. That we really do have a feasible project. If the minimum cost of producing recycled water is going to be $4,000 an acre foot, and Ocean Colony's maximum feasibility threshold for a project is $3,000, then we can save ourselves some time. Personally, I think I'm optimistic that it's going to work out. And the cost of our water has inexorably marched higher since the last time we worked on this, to the point where actually in 2009, when we looked at this, we were projecting a cost of about $4,500 an acre foot for CCWD water, and we're almost there. We're at about, we may actually be there. Our new price is $10.28 a unit. Is that what it is? Okay, so multiply 1028 by 435. That's a big number. That's right in the $4,500 range. So we were right. I mean, that was a kind of a programmed series of increases, but for a water-dependent business that needs 300 acre feet a year, or 100 million gallons a year at $15,000 a million gallons or so, that's a pretty difficult. I understand from the golf course that's going to be a pretty challenging number. They would like to have reliable water supply of non-potable water at a lower cost. That's really going to be our goal. We need to supply this customer with non-potable water, recycled water, at a cost that's, a long-term cost that's going to be lower than the cost of our potable water. And an important next step in order to come up with these cost estimates and just know what we have to do to lay out a kind of a roadmap for our part of the project is really to say, well, what are the facilities we're going to need? How are we going to get under Pillarcitos Creek? How will we connect to the Ocean Colony or what's currently the Ocean Colony pipeline in a way that preserves Ocean Colony's ability to keep using the wells and addresses the concerns of regulatory agencies? There are a whole lot of, in theory, it's not very far from the SAM fence to where Ocean Colony could take the water, but from a regulatory standpoint, and a permitting standpoint, that's a very expensive and challenging 500 feet or whatever it is. So that's something that we want to work on as part of this Kennedy Jenks scope as well. So in thinking about, well, how can we move forward as quickly as possible, I really felt like we need to bring in some significant technical expertise. And in order to do this quickly, we had to kind of identify a chosen candidate. And I really don't think there's, in my opinion, there isn't anybody better than Kennedy Jenks for this, or they're if not better than everyone else available. They'll try to make that case today. I think they do a good job of that. But Kennedy Jenks has a long history of work with the district, starting all the way back in the 60s. Jim Teeter's first work for the district was as an employee of Kennedy Jenks, so they go a long ways back. They're working on they did a good job for us on the Denniston improvements. They're working now on the design of the Denniston booster station and Bridgeport pipeline. So they know us. They're a good choice, and I think they're an excellent choice for recycled water. And we have the ability to directly hire an engineer, and that's what I'm suggesting that we do in order to make our path to getting these next steps done as short as possible. So I've asked Kennedy Jenks for the proposal that's in the staff report, and I asked them tonight to talk about the elements of their proposal, but first of all to talk about their experience in recycled water in a way that should make you and the public and the folks with a stake in this project comfortable that we've got somebody highly qualified to provide this expertise to the district. And with that, I'll introduce Craig Lichty of Kennedy Jenks. I've got Craig Lichty, who's a principal at Kennedy Jenks, and Joel Fowler, who's the principal who's been in charge of our projects. Craig Lichty.
Hi, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Craig Lichty, and I've served as the recycled water practice leader for the firm for about 18 years. And over the last 7 or 8 years, I've trained up my replacement, Dawn Taffler, and I have handed the mantle off to her. But I specialize in recycled water work. That's my passion. Our agenda today is to present our credentials in the area of our services, some of the clients that we're working with, some specific examples of project work that we've done that might be relative to what you're embarking on, and then a brief comment about some individual qualifications, and then talk a little bit about what we're proposing to do to support your Phase 1 conveyance project. We have 5 general areas of services in our recycled water practice. We do applied research, planning, program development and program management, design, and construction management. And these are all the services that need to take a project from an idea into an operating facility. So we stay with these projects. Many of the projects I've worked on for 20 years, and many of them I still work on today. With respect to our applied research, I'd like to highlight a couple of areas that I think are important. First, we do a significant amount of work in the area of water quality and risk assessment work, in the area of regulated compounds and emerging contaminants. But with respect to some of the things that you're looking at, we really work on water quality for specific types of customers, and then communicating water quality issues to the board, the public, and the customers so that they understand if there are challenges in using recycled water, and then how to manage those. The second area of work that our applied research group works on are around treatment technologies, both conventional and new treatment technologies. There are a lot of really innovative and new technologies out there. And for the right use, they're appropriate, but just because the technology is available doesn't necessarily mean it's the right fit for every project. Every project is unique, and we try and look at each project and each customer and match up the appropriate treatment technology for the level of sophistication of the operator and the water quality needs of the customer. With respect to planning, we provide a full suite of planning services, beginning with identifications of markets for potable and non-potable uses. We do quite a bit of work in the area of plant and soil compatibility assessments, specifically with golf courses, but also with agriculture, including nurseries and organic farms. We have soil scientists on staff. We have hydrogeologists, agronomists, as well as a strong suite of water quality people. So we really can get into the details of tailoring water quality for end uses. We do quite a bit of work in the area of groundwater recharge with recycled water, so understanding transformations in the subsurface and how salt can migrate and protect water supplies. That's an important aspect of what we're looking at today. We do feasibility studies, master plans, and facilities plans, and pilot studies of the technologies that are going to be proved. Although most of the treatment technologies we're working with today are really no longer emerging. They're quite well understood. A lot of times, some of our owners want to demonstrate the technology so that their customers and their public can go out and actually kind of kick the tires on a project before a big investment is made and understand how it works, how it operates, and get comfortable with it. And so in those cases, we perform pilot studies. One area that I think is really a differentiator for the firm is in the area of customer site retrofits. We've probably retrofitted 1,200 to 1,500 sites in the Bay Area with recycled water, including a lot of golf courses and big turf areas like cemeteries, all the way up to high-tech water for fabs at Intel. So we have people that can go out to a customer site, meet with an operations supervisor, find out what their concerns are about recycled water, how their facilities are currently being operated, so that when the conveyance systems are brought up to the site property line, there's not a, oh, what are we doing now kind of experience, and people are well prepared for not only using the water in a way that's going to meet their needs, but also being able to apply with the regulations for the use of recycled water, which are fairly specific for different use types. So that's an area that we spend a lot of effort in, particularly up front, so there's no surprises when we turn the new water supply on. Because without customers, these projects will fail, and you have to get your customers on board and comfortable with the water. That's the first job. With respect to program development and management, we've been involved in a number of these assignments, both as the program manager and also as a member of program management team. It generally involves bringing a whole suite of expertise around all the aspects that are needed to deliver a project, not just the engineering. And frequently, we will partner with our clients and other consultants to deliver that expertise that's needed. For instance, legal expertise in the area of institutional arrangements or joint power authority agreements, financial assistance in setting rates, and those types of things. We'll either partner with legal counsel of an owner or suggest some other specialists who are very familiar in setting these types of agreements and partnerships up. Finally, we get to the easy stuff, which is designing and building the work. This is the easiest part of delivering recycled water projects. The most difficult aspects of recycled water projects are typically getting the agreements in place, getting the customers comfortable with the water, and then setting up the funding and the financing to support the investment, because these projects tend to be fairly expensive. Clients, I've got a handout for you, or I think you have some slides. First, we have 4 offices in Northern California that we work out of. It's a region, Northern California region: San Francisco, Santa Clara, Santa Rosa, and Sacramento. And then the blue dots are our recycled water clients. And over the last 25 years, I think I've worked with all of the clients on this list except for maybe 1 or 2. Many of these clients, like Coastside County Water District, have been clients of Kennedy Jenks for 5 decades. And we started their programs. Joel started the Marin Municipal Water District program in the drought of '87, which was one of the first projects in the Bay Area. We then did Sunnyvale's program, which was the next big project in the Bay Area. South Bay Water Recycling, and so forth. And so these projects have kind of evolved chronologically based on the leadership of some earlier agencies, and we've been with the very first projects, and we continue to, I think, do more recycled water work by far than any other firm anywhere in Northern California. Some specific project experience, I thought I could walk you through a couple of projects to give you a sense for some of the things that we've done. I've got a figure for the first two here that I'll come to in a second. Santa Rosa's Incremental Recycle Water Program is a project and a program that I've been working on for since about 2006. It is a $400 million program. That's the first program in the state of California to reach zero discharge. So every drop of water that comes into that plant, including the wet weather flows, we recycle 100% of that water. And we serve agriculture, urban uses, all manner of non-potable urban uses, and interestingly, we pump a significant amount of water up to the Geysers steam field, located about 40 miles outside of Santa Rosa, and we pump that water up about 3,000 feet through a 40-mile-long pipeline and inject it into the Geysers steam field and create renewable energy, zero carbon footprint with recycled water. So we've eliminated the discharge to the environment, taken a good portion of that water, injected in the steam field, recovered the steam, and are generating carbon-free power with it. It's a really interesting project. We're currently working with San Francisco PUC on implementing their Westside Recycle Water Project, which is an advanced treatment process to serve all of Golden Gate Park, Lincoln Golf Course, and the Presidio. That project's in final design right now. We've got a team of about 10 different consultants who are working on that. It's roughly a $100 million project, and we're serving all the different use types in the in Golden Gate Park, including their very sensitive habitat for some of their flowers that they have there in the area. They're very particular about their water quality. And finally, this morning I spent the day with the board of directors of the North Bay Water Reuse Authority, which is an 8-member water reuse joint powers authority and representing the entire North Bay of San Francisco Bay. And we spent the day talking about their $200 million Phase 2 project, and we're in the process of obtaining for them 25% federal grant, matching that with a 25% state grant, and funding the remaining 50% with 1% interest money from the Prop 1 through the state, which in itself, the loan is equivalent to about another 20% grant. So of the $200 million program that they're contemplating, we're working with them at essentially getting about 65% of that project paid for, which has a really significant benefit to the ratepayers of those entities. And that's one thing I'd like to impress upon you right now is there has never been a better time in the state of California to build recycled water projects than right now. And there's a lot of money available through Prop 1. Getting the low interest loans is almost a certainty. Getting the grants under the right situation, it's a competitive grant program. And depending on how you frame your project with respect to the potential benefits and how competitive you can make it, that's yet to be determined. But it's a great environment to build facilities and protect ratepayer interests. And then finally, with respect to golf courses, we've worked with a number of golf courses. We worked with North Coast County Water District in San Francisco on the Sharp Park Golf Course. We're currently working very closely with Redwood City and Menlo Country Club. I'm meeting with the regulators tomorrow trying to get that project approved. We've worked with Sharon Heights on their satellite treatment study to provide recycled water for their club. Pasatiempo, Lincoln Park, which is part of the San Francisco project, and a separate project we're doing with the Presidio Trust in San Francisco to serve the Presidio's golf course. So an example of some of the project, the South Bay Water Recycling Program, which was really interesting. I worked on the Phase 1 program and the Phase 2 program since about 1994. That's about $300 million in facilities, but it also included an urban portion of the project, in addition to some potable uses that are being implemented now that included some golf courses. And we did quite a little bit of research into very specific types of turf grasses, irrigation practices, golf course design and construction related to how water could be used on those golf courses. And there was some nice research that was published as a part of that I'd like to share with Ocean Colony at some point. The Redwood City project, which I think some of you are familiar with. The pink lines are the lines that are in the ground right now, and we're building the blue line to the bottom of the page up to Menlo Country Club right now. Menlo Country Club has been really significantly impacted by the drought. They're a direct customer of SFPUC, and they've just spent millions of dollars renovating their club, and they have been forced to stop irrigating and are having a lot of problems with massive parts of the club are dying, and they're losing some of their heritage trees. So they're very anxious to get recycled water implemented as quickly as possible, and we're trying to get an exemption from the regional board tomorrow morning to allow a temporary pipeline to be built through a public right-of-way in order to get water up there before they lose the rest of those trees. So those are some of the projects that we're working on. I've kind of talked about myself. I'm very active in the water reuse organization. I've been the past president, and I'm currently a director. So I work on legislative and regulatory issues in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. quite a bit. And I also was one of the reviewers of our recently released manual practice on how to develop a water reuse program. So that's my background. Fred Neal, I've asked to help with a little bit of QA/QC and permitting. He's kind of an ideal individual to help out. He's in semi-retirement right now, but he developed the Marin and Sunnyvale programs, but he's also the firm's premier pipeline expert, and he's permitted pipelines through every type of situation that you could imagine, and I was going to have him come out to the job site with us and take a look at the resource agencies and how we can approach the regulatory permitting strategy for crossing Peliceros Creek. Mary Trail's a staff engineer that's been working with me for almost 15 years, and she's currently doing the work for Menlo Country Club and Lincoln Golf Course. So those are the three people we're proposing to do your work. I will be managing and directly doing quite a bit of the work myself. And so now we can talk about your project. That's the layout of who we are and what we do. In talking with David and your Recycle Water Committee this past week, we were looking for some fairly focused activities related to very carefully identifying what the water quality and quantity requirements of the Phase 1 project are, specifically for the golf course, making sure we've dialed that in so that we can create a specification. Let me go back. A specification for SAM so that we can convey to them the water quality requirements that are going to be needed for the golf course. And while we're looking at that, because the nurseries are right across the street, and we've done some prior work, we actually dredged up out of a project file some work that one of our senior people had done for one of the nurseries there, so we have some water quality information already. And to make sure that whatever specification we give to SAM is not only going to serve the golf course's needs, but that would ultimately serve any other sensitive users that you might have in the future, so you don't have a constraint there that you bump up against later if you want to expand your facilities. Then, as David alluded, we want to evaluate the conveyance facilities, how to get water from the fence line to the golf course. I think there are some questions that I don't believe have been asked and probably need to be asked regarding what level of service needs to be provided for the facilities, reliability, how service interruptions are going to be managed, how much storage is going to be required for different types of outages that might occur with the treatment process, whether or not there's going to be a standby potable water connection to it for emergencies, and in particular how the golf course's wells can be interconnected with the recycled water facilities and still meet with the permit compliance of the regulators. They have liked to see some direct separation of those systems in the past on projects I've worked on. And I think it's important to understand that aspect of it because it could become a cost component of your project that might not have been looked at yet. Then Director Coverdale asked specifically if we could help develop a roadmap on how we could implement this conveyance project, how long it would take, how much money it's going to require, what the critical path is, so that we can be ready for delivery of water from SAM or ahead of their schedule. So those are the three tasks at work. There's a little bit of project management and administration. We thought we could complete that work over 3 months. We can begin work this week, and then we would bring this back through the Recycled Water Committee and Dave and present the findings of the work sometime in the next 3 months. And the budget for the work is $50,000. So that's, Dave, everything I think we wanted to cover, and I'd be happy to answer questions or talk about any of the issues that you would like to talk about.
Board members have any questions?
One question. But I have a question about how reimbursables work within the $50,000. Have you estimated some percentage that's included in the $50,000, or are reimbursables on top of that amount?
The only direct cost that I anticipate we're going to have is some mileage. So there is a small budget in the allowance for direct costs in the budget, and we would invoice for mileage at the federally allowed rate.
So that's part, you've kind of made an estimate then that's included in the $50,000?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
I just had a comment, but not a
please.
question. I just want to tell you thanks for the completeness of your proposal, and you know, you haven't had much time since we met, but I really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the completeness of what you brought here tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's always fun to work with, you know, I do this as a living, and I'm professionally participate in this because it's my passion. And it's fun to work with an owner and create a first project. It's always different. It's never the same. Each community and customer needs are different, so it's fun to solve the challenges and see if Bob can stop holding his breath.
No, it's,
You shake him, I'm afraid he's...
Good. No, I'd like to thank you on a very complete presentation. You certainly, you touched on some of my concerns. I know we've been talking about this for a long time, and my father's been in the nursery business his entire life, and so through him I've gotten to know a lot of the big greenhouse growers. And you've touched on quality. That is a big concern. I mean, their growing poinsettias in, you know, 7 figures, one bad batch, be catastrophic. So certainly, you know, the quality assurance is really, really key for that next customer. Because right now we have, not to belittle turf grass, but turf grass probably isn't quite as sensitive as ornamental horticultural crops. So
No, and what we find is that nurseries that haven't, because there are some big corporate nurseries, so they've already got experience with recycled water, maybe from Irvine Ranch Water District
So
or
that's
something
real
like that.
key to bring these guys on board.
So one of my fellow board members is actually the head of one of the largest nurseries down there in Irvine Ranch, and he will come up as an ambassador and work with other nurseries to kind of talk to them about it, because frankly, they don't always want to hear about it from an engineer. They prefer to hear about it from somebody that makes money in the nursery business.
Yeah, no, so thank you for touching on that.
That's helpful.
And right now, this is a contract with CCWD. Will you be working with SAM? I mean, because you're going to create the specs, but someone on the other side of the fence is going to produce the water.
You know, we serve as the district engineer for the Granada Sanitary District, so we work for them.
Okay.
But in talking with Dave, our interest really is in serving Coastside County Water District on the distribution aspects of this project. I think it would probably be best for us to stay outside the fence on this project.
I guess I would foresee Kennedy Jenks helping. We, under the principles of agreement, we participate in reviewing the design of the treatment facilities. So I think the way I see it, creating the quality and quantity specification is an important part of what we'll do up front.
Right.
Sam, we'll give that to Sam. They will propose a facility and treatment technology, and we'll rely on Kennedy Jenks,
Kennedy
I
Jenks
think,
to
to
bless
advise
whatever,
us
okay.
about, I mean, these are...
Or not.
Yeah, or not, no, they, absolutely.
Making recycled water is not really rocket science. I mean, I think, you know, that as Craig said, these treatment technologies are pretty well proven. Is going to be dual media filters, is going to be microfiltration. We'll need to take a look at that and make sure that that the proposed facilities meet our criteria, including the important one that he mentioned, which is, we don't want something that's so constrained or somehow limited to just the Phase 1 project, because we'd like to see recycled water be part of our portfolio
Exactly.
for other users in the future. I mean, recycled water is an important resource for us. Right now, it used to be 1.7 million gallons a day. Now it's about 1.2 that's going out into the ocean, and that's 1.2 million gallons that we could make use of, not just for the golf course in the future, but for other uses as well.
Good, and I look forward to you guys being our advocate here. Thank you.
One other area that is interesting is the life cycle cost, to make sure that not only the quality's right, but that the project's being delivered at a cost, since you're going to be paying for it, that is the appropriate cost for the appropriate level of quality, and that the life cycle of that facility is considered. If you have an advanced treatment technology that requires replacing expensive UV lamps and membranes every 5 to 7 years, you want to make sure that that replacement cost is properly programmed into the overall expenditure, so that you don't have surprises later with higher costs for maintaining that system.
Thank you, Ken.
I think I do have a question. One thing that we discussed in the Recycle Water Committee meeting was your experience and your exposure to the players, the people who are making decisions about the Prop 1 money, is that what it is, the state Prop 1 money, and people who are making decisions in terms of permitting. And I didn't really see that so identified in your proposal. Do you have some time accounted or allocated for that kind of interaction as well?
Yes, I would be managing that within the hours that are on the project for myself, and if I need to get advice, Gary Carlton, who previously served as the engineer on the State Water Resources Control Board, is our chairman of the board at Kennedy Jenks, and I can pick up the phone and call him if I've got a question that I can't answer myself. So we have some other resources in-house that I can go to for the permitting and regulatory work.
Yeah, because from my perspective, that was a really positive aspect of our working together on the project. I think that, having a connection to the people that are going to ultimately say, you can build this, is really important. The political connection, I think, is extremely valuable to the district.
Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Good. Okay.
Ready for motion?
We're ready for a motion?
I'm happy to move that we authorize our general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Kennedy Jenks Consultants for technical support in developing Phase 1 of the recycled water project with a not-to-exceed budget of $50,000.
I'd be happy to second that. Any discussion?
Oh, yeah, let's talk right now. I want to tell you that from my perspective, I'm absolutely delighted to see the motivation on our board level. And I think Dave said one thing that I feel is the most important thing for us to carry away from the meeting, and that is there's a long history about what didn't happen. I think we ought to all get over it and leave it well behind us. And I think we ought to start from day one right now, saying we've got a very positive environment with the right group of people, with the right motivation, as ex-Director Feldman said, and get on with that. It's a very positive thing that we're beginning to
We don't want them to turn
launch.
blue.
No, not at all. Well, the problem is I know CPR, do you? Old school, though. But, so, from my perspective, I just think it's time for us to hit the positive note and go forward. We've got a person we can work with at Ocean Colony. I think we've got great consultants. I think we have a community that's motivated, and certainly a drought environment that just begs for what we're getting ready to do. So I just think it's a time to go forward positively.
Well,
Get it
I'm
done.
anticipating this unanimous vote will show our commitment here to recycled water here at CCWD. So on that, Joanne, please.
Yes, Director Coverdale?
Aye.
Vice President Glassberg?
Aye.
Director Reynolds?
Aye.
Director Flint?
Aye.
President Michelson?
Aye. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that was 2 or 3 days, was it? I didn't get the time frame for the,
After tomorrow, we should have a report, right?
yeah, thanks. I mean, we've got a, March 2016 deadline.
Being as this was a one agenda item meeting, I believe we're done.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks to our customer.